welcome folks. We wanted to go ahead and give you guys a how to play Orion's Spur video because we know that you're interested in getting deeper into some of the mechanics and learning how some of these particular species actually interact during battle. But one of the main things in that is going to be your ship cards, because this is the main feature of any of the fleets. And everyone starts with the same set of cards. In this particular case, we have a little bit of an advanced setup, so your setup is going to look a little different from ours, but it has a lot of the elements that you're going to need to see. One of the first things you're going to need to do is separate each one of the decks out by their faction symbol, which you'll find on the back of each of the cards. There should be two different size decks, one for the ships and one for the tactics. The tactics can be shuffled before you get started. The ships should not be, as you have a standardized setup. One of the things you're going to find on all of the cards is that they have similar types of information. All of them are going to have underneath the name for the ships, next to the faction symbols. Each of the species is going to have their special abilities, as was hinted to during the species videos. If you have not seen those, go ahead and click the links and check those out. On the underside, underneath each of the ships is the ship abilities. Each class of ship has a different ability, and you will want to double check the icons to see when they're usable. All ships have certain characteristics. The blue is their shielding, the brown being their hull, the green being their energy. The gold is actually their recruitment cost for bringing them into your fleet, as we'll go over in one of the actions. The blue is actually your victory points. A game is played at 10 victory points. Each one of the ships you destroy is worth that number of points. You'll want to ensure that you have an appropriate number of tokens on so that you can keep track of their stats as play continues. When a ship runs completely out of hull, regardless of anything else, the ship is destroyed and handed to the opponent that destroyed it.
So now that we've seen the makeup of the cards, how about we go over some of the actions that you can take for your turn. The first action you take is the main attack action, which is you're activating your card to spend energy to play out of your tactics deck, or if the card has this ability for the style of ship, to use as well as an attack. Some of them do not, some of them do. Read each of the cards and you'll find out what each one of them does. Certain things can be better for you in defense, other ones can be better for attack, but altogether, you usually have a way of attacking, usually used through your tactics deck. You get your hand, and you can use things out of that for the energy cost. If for some reason you're lacking just that one energy to pull something you either really need to or you really want to pull off, because let's be honest, who doesn't like making the enemy ship go boom? You can overcharge and get that one extra energy. But it also causes your ship to be disabled, so you cannot use reactionaries off of it, leaving it kind of dead in the water, because you kind of shunted all your extra power, except for life support, all the way over into your weapons. For the next action you can take is special ability actions. These are usually involved with your species. In this case, I am using the Chirrup, and we have the ability Flock, as seen on each of the cards. And what this allows me to do is to play off of my flagship's energy to activate another card so that it may use its energy to attack. Now, this can be very useful, and it can be very powerful, but if I don't have the right cards or the right ships out, it's not going to be as nice to pull off as I otherwise could. So knowing when to use it and to use it for energy is important. And the reason for that is actually our last action, which is the regroup action. Because when you spend your energy, you don't get it back at the end of your turn. You actually have to take an action, the regroup action. And this allows you to, say, re-enable a ship, get all your energy back for all your ships. Now, this does not repair or heal anything on there, so your shields and your hull stay the same. But it also allows you to draw back up to 7, and if you have, let's say, like the captain card, and you draw it, you could also play that on the turn. You just cannot use attack cards. You can heal other things, but on your regroup action, you may not initiate conflict with another ship. You also may rearrange your fleet, so if like one ship's getting a little bit damaged, you don't have things to heal it, you can put it farther in the back and not take as much damage. The last thing you can do is you can spend your recruitment points to gain new ships. Now, each of those will have their listed cost on there, like we've shown previously, and if you pull out a bigger ship than anything you have out there, it becomes the flagship. Otherwise, you may arrange it as you see fit on the grid that would normally be in for play, which is 2 rows and 5 columns.
In order for us to show you a little bit more about how the mechanics of a turn goes, I am going to go ahead and take an activation and see if I can take some damage to my opponent here.
And I'm going to try to win.
Well, that's the object of any game. However, the beginning of any particular round, the first thing one wants to do is decide what it is they're going to be doing, and that is determined by the energy that you have on your ships as well as whatever is in your hand. Now in this particular case, I'm actually going to play one of their secondary abilities and actually play my captain, which allows me to draw additional cards. This allows me some more options during my turn. Especially when you're normally limited to only drawing on your regroup actions. As you can see here, as I'm fanning this particular hand, you can see the various different icons for your weapons, your reactions, as well as your heals. These are all going to take place and have relevance during this particular set of turn. So, let's go ahead and get this one started, because I have a destroyer back here. So the first thing I'm doing is declaring this is the ship that I'm going to activate for this turn. This will be the only ship that I use for this turn. I am also limited to choosing one of these two forward frigates, because that's how a formation works. You're there running interference for the ships that are behind, so this is going to be my target. I will target this one over here. I am now going to adjust my energy. Now the energy I'm paying for can be seen on the attack card. I know it's difficult for you to probably see here, but energy and damage is listed on the attack cards. In this particular case, I am firing a barrage of fission missiles at that particular frigate, which now allows them, now that that has been declared, my opponent may now take any reactions that he might have.
What's really nice here is that he's used missiles, and we can really show this off. So with my ship that's getting attacked, it can have a reactionary versus a ship that attacked me. So I'm actually going to spend my 2 energy, and I'm going to throw down my ion laser. Now, I have an option here, because this is attack and reaction, that either I could hit his ship or I could hit the missiles. And the missiles, they have the amount of hull for their damage. So if I do 2 damage to that missile, which does 4 damage, it now only does 2, which I think is what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to keep that ship up, and I'm going to do a little bit of damage to his missiles.
Right, which means that these missiles are only going to do 2 damage. All damage starts by hitting shields first, unless specified otherwise. So he loses 1 point and 1 hull.
Mm-hmm.
That takes care of that particular card. However, my light cruiser back here has an ability to also go ahead and use something else, because I really would like to get rid of that thing. I will only have 2 points of power left on board that ship. So unfortunately that means that I'm going to have to actually disable that ship to get an extra point of power, because 3 points will allow me to fire its intrinsic medium laser for 3 damage at that same target.
I don't like dying, so I'm just going to go nope, and I'm going to use evasion, which is evade 1 attack or attack reaction ability or card.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to completely negate his action right there.
Correct. And now, because of the fact that I have utilized all of the energy on board that ship and have no other means or actions that I can take for that ship, the only other option I have at the moment is to go ahead and play a shield repair to see if maybe I can hold on to that frigate just a little bit longer, because that is not an action, that's a secondary. And I now must pass my turn. And at the end of my turn, I take a recruitment point.
So, seeing as it's now my turn, and I really, really, really want to get back at him for firing at mine, I'm actually going to be using my special ability action. So, like I was saying before, as the cheer up, I have Flock, which means I can spend 2 points of energy off of my flagship to activate another ship. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate once to then activate this card, which also has the Flock ability. and that allows me to play its energy at one target. Now, my target this entire time will be this frigate.
Okay.
So my first action there will then be to spend its 3 energy, and I'm going to fire fusion missiles, quite beefy thing, over at his frigate. Now, one of the reasons firing such a bigger missile is because his other frigate here could negate a little bit of damage, and so I still want to be able to hit it, and he can't attack off of this one, so that's the basic. I'm basically guaranteeing myself a kill here.
Correct. However, because I don't like to die either, I'm afraid that my frigate's not going to be in the place where you think it is. That attack is negated.
I see. There's a beautiful evasion play. But I'm not done yet, because I still have 2 energy, which I can use to either activate Flock or do other things with, but because it's a special action, I have to do Flock. So, 2 there, and activate this frigate. And what I have there, unfortunately, is only ship missiles, which only uses an energy, but only does 2 damage. It's not going to take it out, but it's going to hurt it.
That is true, which is the reason why it is that I'm going to go ahead and react with my frigate using its last bit of power to actually use the frigate's ability to spend an energy to prevent a damage to an adjacent ship. I'm also going to go ahead and react by overcharging its shields to soak up all of that damage to no effect.
Nice. Now, before my turn is over, I am going to use a minor shield repair on this ship here, because it's gonna need all the help it can get, and a minor hull repair. And that's because this also is gonna need as much help as this thing can get to bring it up to somewhat survivability. But that is my turn. So,
in which you then generate a recruitment point. Now, that means that it's now my option to take a play. And unfortunately, as you can see from the board state, I have absolutely no energy to play, which means that the best thing for me to do is regroup, which is a wonderful thing. Which first of all means that all of my ships regenerate all of their energy. So that's one of the first things to do. Now, one of the second things that I can then do is that I can take a look at my hand and see that there are a few things that I probably can go ahead and get rid of. So I will go ahead and take the option to discard them. Now, seeing as I only have the 2 cards left, I can actually draw up to my 7. But we are not done yet, because I have 3 recruitment points here. One of the portions of her group is called Reinforce, which means that I'm going to go ahead and bring in a little bit of reinforcement. This is going to require that I do a little bit of adjustment to my fleet here, because now I have a new, fresh light cruiser who is going to take its place. And as you can see, you can use these either on the numbers, or if you want to use them as singles, you can use the icon side as well. And boom, a little bit more firepower to use against my opponent.
that T-pose looks strong.
It does indeed. All right. Now, this has gone through all 3 of our different actions and has also shown you a little bit about the different types of cards that are available to be played. Each one of these decks for the different species is constructed differently, so you're going to find that each one of the different species does play a little bit differently, and you're going to need to probably learn their tactics. And you might indeed surprise us by coming up with a few of your own. I hope this has been helpful. Take a look at some of the other videos if you're curious about the rest, and take a look and keep watch for Orion's Spur coming somewhere to a galaxy near you.